Hey everyone. For those of you who haven't been here before, my name is Derek Royden. I'm a freelance writer. I work for a website called nationofchange.org. That's where my work most often appears. It's appeared in other places as well. And today I want to talk about something that's just a little bit personal, and then we'll move out kind of in scope. But basically, in the last month or so, I've become a vegan. I was a vegetarian for a little bit, about a year before. It's a long, slow process. I don't think that people should necessarily rush into changing their diet radically because there's a good chance that it won't stick. Now, this isn't going to be one of those videos where I talk about the ethics of veganism or vegetarianism for that matter. And it's not going to be one of those videos where I talk about the health benefits. If you want to learn about those things, you can check out the work of Glenn Greenwald on The Intercept. He's done a lot of great pieces about factory farming and just the terrible conditions that animals live under. And if you're interested in some of the health benefits of veganism and vegetarianism, I suggest a movie. It's a good entry point called What the Health. It should be available on Netflix in your area. There might be some variation with that. So my purpose today isn't to tell people what they should eat. My purpose is to ask people to think about the fact that the industrialization of animal agriculture is a main driver of climate change that's rarely recognized, partly because these industries are super powerful, but also because, let's be honest, people don't really want to think about the costs of something that they enjoy so much. And I understand that. So it's not to tell you that you shouldn't eat meat or you should become a vegan. That's entirely up to you. But if you think about these choices and maybe just try to eat a little bit less meat, it'll get easier and easier for you. There's a lot of vegan processed foods. These are a good entry point, but the best things you can eat are still like whole food plants. So legumes like beans, grains like rice, as many mixed colors as you can get onto your plate is probably going to be enough to sustain you. You should always also, and this is something I didn't realize at first, definitely make sure you supplement your B12 because this is not generally contained in plants anymore. And now some websites will actually give you misinformation about B12. They say it only occurs in the stomachs of animals. This is actually not true. Where the B12 was coming from, where we were getting it from before, was from water, untreated water. So we need to treat water or else it can make people sick. But in the process of doing so, we're killing the good bacteria as well in the water. So it's important to understand that. Now, what I really want to talk about is climate change because this is the greatest crisis of our time. It feeds into the other great crisis of our time, which is, of course, biodiversity loss. Animal agriculture is a main driver, as I said. And what happens is, for example, rainforests are cut down not only just to graze animals, but also to actually grow food for them. In the United States, 70% of the soybeans that are produced not to feed human beings, but to feed animals. We need to scale this back. Animals like cows are a huge contributor to greenhouse gases. People laugh about cow farts, but the truth of the matter is, this is methane. It goes into the atmosphere. It's more concentrated or more dangerous or worse, I should say, than CO2. It does dissipate sooner, but the sheer number, I think there's 50 billion agricultural animals in the world, the sheer number of these animals is a huge driver. It's affecting everything. Then we have, of course, slurry, which is basically animal waste, which is especially from pigs, which is going into the oceans and causing dead zones. So we really need to think about how we live. You know, a lot of people talk about, well, it's best to have like free range food And yes, this probably is better. It's better for the life of the animal. But the truth of the matter is there just simply is not enough space on the world for us to graze all the animals that people want to eat. This is why we have factory farms. It's because in a kind of sick way, they are easier to manage and use up less space. So it's also, we have to understand, it's also what the animals are eating. We could rewild so much of the world if we were to simply allow the current animal populations to die out, or small, or like numbers of them to die out, and return this beautiful, wonderful, necessary land to nature the way it was supposed to be, and still have plenty of productive land in order to feed people a mainly plant-based diet. These are important issues for the left, although we don't often hear about them, because if you think about like Karl Marx or Leon Trotsky or a lot of early kind of leftist writers, and even actually up till today, in fact, there's a lot of people still doing this who believe that just as capitalists believe, and just as Enlightenment thinkers believe, that you can endlessly take from the earth and basically not even have to put back, that you can produce goods endlessly. And this just simply isn't a fact. The fact of the matter is, by last August, we had used 1.7 Earths. That is, we took out almost 2 Earths, our second Earth, in terms of what we took from the soil and did not return to it. We need to change a lot of the things about the way we live. Everyone knows this. We're working really hard to kind of inform people about the Green New Deal, about changing the way we approach the world. And the left has a lot of problems with this, just as, the right is far, far more extreme. We have people on all meat diets now, as if I guess, kind of be against vegans or vegetarians. It seems silly to me, but this is the kind of thing that you always see on the right. They always have to be contrary, even when it's literally not good for them. So these are questions that the left must deal with. This is an opening salvo. I'm going to be thinking about these issues in the days and weeks ahead, but I wanted to make a short video about this so that I could just talk to you about some of the things I've been feeling, some of the things I've been reading. I mean, if anyone out there read the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report, it is really, really scary stuff. I'd like to give a shout out to groups like Sunrise in the United States, a great youth movement that's doing fantastic things. I'd like to give a shout out to Extinction Rebellion, which started in the UK and is spreading widely now. We have to think about the way we live our lives in terms of what effect it has on nature. We need to get beyond the Enlightenment idea that nature is an endless bounty. It simply is not. It's not people that are necessarily always the problem. In fact, in many regions of the world, people still are lactose intolerant. They don't eat dairy. And in a lot of places, people just don't have access to meat, and they live really healthy, productive lives on a plant-based diet. So once again, don't want to tell anyone how to live their life or what to eat. But if you care about the environment, and you care about climate change, and you care about biodiversity loss, which is creating a world where our children and grandchildren will not know like animals like the white rhino, just bear in mind that just a little bit less meat intake, just cut it down a little bit if you can, and you personally will be making a difference. This is not going to stop the left from continuing to critique fossil fuel companies, militaries, all of these things that are also huge drivers of climate change. We have to organize ourselves in the way that these groups have in order to get these things out to the public. But the small changes you can make in your own life can make you feel good about yourself and can make just a tiny difference, the tiny difference that one person can make. So I'd really like to thank everyone for watching, and always remember,